letter, and where the Alter Rebbe is telling us that every moment is a Kodak moment, that God is creating something from nothing, and we should therefore have strength and gladness in such a place. So the Alter Rebbe continues and says, as a result, therefore, first of all, he says, a person ought to be happy and joyous every time, every hour, truly living with this faith that God is animating and is acting kindly towards him at every moment. That's what should be. Again, to the individual. But someone who grieves and laments, he says, demonstrates that they're undergoing some hardship and suffering and lacks from God's goodness. Oh, there says a very strong things now that whatever. I'm going to repeat. I'm going to say that. And again, I want to reiterate. I'm talking to myself. Whoever's listening, listen. But I got to listen and hear this message. So someone who feels that they're lacking some goodness, this person is a heretic, denying God's omnipresence, literally. And this is why he says that the sages of truth, meaning the Kabbalists, they strongly rejected any form of sadness, because there's no place that's devoid of God, so therefore there's no reason to be sad. By the way, that doesn't mean that they're not pained by something, might not be hurt by something. A different discussion. Sad we're talking about, right? Perturbed by something because you're suffering. That's what we're talking, because you are suffering. Pain from loss of someone who passed away, that's a different story. Someone that passed away and you're pained. We're not talking about suffering, we're talking about pained, right? And suffering. And that's a separate discussion. Let's more about how you are responding to life, right? So, not to be suffering to any mundane matters at all. In other words, yes and no are equal. There's an equanimity. So, we'll unpack this. But someone who they're not the same, having or not having, for example, right? The Alter Rebbe says this person demonstrates that they're from the Erev Rav, translated as the mixed multitude who came out of Egypt. And what does it mean, the Erev Rav? That they're acting for themselves. In other words, self-love. And the Alter Rebbe says very strongly that this person removes themselves from under the hand, meaning the authority of God, and they're living life as a non-Jew. That's what's expected of a Jew. All because of self-love. A person has life, desires life of the flesh. And here the flesh, we mean family life. We're not talking, not talking about arrogant, egotistical, things. Talking about essentials, family life, health, livelihood, that you bread on the table. Why? Why do you want those things? Because they're good for the five senses that we live with, right? Now he says even more, something more strongly. And I'm just, these are absolute things that he is saying. And again, I overemphasize this is a very high bar. And it's not about achievement, it's about awareness and striving in that direction. Because now he says that if a person doesn't live this way, it's better that they weren't born. Why? Because the main purpose of a person's creation in this world is to go through tests and trials and tribulations. That's what's going to happen. And therefore, what's going to be in your heart? Are you going to turn away from God? And this is what it means, other gods? In other words, God isn't here in this moment in my life? He's gone? Why? Because the passions in my body have been not fulfilled, and therefore that's what I seek, which is other gods. And this is the test. Is that what I'm going after, or am I going after God himself? My wish and my desire is truly to connect to him, to the living God. A person, the Alter Rebbe says, must believe that they really are living it. And that everything that a person needs and for his life come from God, and God is the one that is truly there in every moment. And therefore there's only absolutely good, even though we don't understand how this is good. It's not about the understanding, it's about the awareness of this reality. When one believes this truly, everything, then the Alter Rebbe takes a step further and says, everything actually becomes good in a revealed way, not just something that we don't apprehend. When we are able to transcend and to truly accept that this is good, then that actually becomes the way that it will be revealed goodness. Because what seems to be in a manifest way negative, evil even, and a person understands and accepts it in a way that it is coming from the supreme good of God, Chokhmah, as we explained, beyond comprehension, which transcends everything. By that, faith will be ultimately bring to a revealed good, palpable, revealed goodness that not just in the mind's eye, but in the physical eye, we will be able to apprehend and see. Wow. Okay, let's unpack this, and then we'll go into questions and whatever. So we got to be joyous all the times. All the time joyous. The Kabbalists rejected any form of sadness in your life. All times be with a smile. Not a fake smile. Not a smile for someone else. It's not a smile for someone else. It's a smile for you. Because inside you're smiling. Inside you're good. Inside you're good. Why? Because you really believe that this is coming from God. This is really good. Interesting, so he says, so this is something very Jewish. And very Jewish. And so the way I take this for myself is in a way. Let me give some kind of examples. There's a story about a wealthy guy who Used to every, once a week he would invite, a pauper to the poor individual to the table, to his table, to come and have a dinner, to have a nice dinner. It was Wednesday nights, and every Wednesday night there would be steak and potatoes, and you can imagine a pauper who probably maybe never ate steak and potatoes. And if yes, maybe, it's been years, and is now invited to the table. Can you imagine? Clambers away and eats the steak and potatoes like there's no tomorrow. And his host is eating with such refinement of character. Such refinement of character. After all, refined individual. So at first glance, we would think that the pauper is like, he's like real man of the flesh. Look at the way he's attacking that steak, right? As opposed to the refined host, this rich individual. But the truth is, look a little deeper. It's not about necessarily when you have the thing, but take something away. So if you take away the steak from the pauper, no. Hey, listen, I haven't had it in years or ever, so no big deal. Take away the steak from this refined individual who every Wednesday night, this is what he's accustomed to, this is part of his routine, this is part of his life. Take it away. He's beside himself. His routine is thrown off. He's upset. He's pained. In other words, the way sometimes you can see is not when you have something, but when you don't, when it's taken away from you. How much are you bound up to this thing, the things in our lives, right? Is that not so much when you have it, but when it's taken away from you. And this is one of the things the Alter Rebbe said. Whether you have or don't have, it's the same. So you're coming to a meal, right? And everybody got served, and you got served last, and there was so little left that you got, a morsel full. Okay. The same whether you had or didn't have. Everybody else got a, nice plate full, and you got, hey, how come I didn't get like everybody else? Whether you said that or sensed it. But here, and this is one of the ways how I take it from me, is by the absence of something, of the things in our lives, right, that we're maybe so comfortable and have them. No, okay, just the same. You're okay. You have or you don't have. Health, be gesund. So yes, we should all be healthy, and we should be working on our health. Something I actually spoke about the Shabbos and Fabringen. But it's only a means to an end. It's only that I can serve God, right? Rather than being healthy as an end in itself. It's not. We don't live to be healthy. We don't live to exercise. We exercise so we can serve God. So what happens if you're not so healthy? Can you still serve God? Yeah. Okay, so this is hurting me. That's a little, okay, that doesn't mean you shouldn't work on, making yourself healthy. That's not the point, right? I've been, one of the challenges I have is actually that, right? I'm lazy to do physical, engagement. Okay, but that's not the point. The point is over here, in the moment that, there is something that's not. So we don't feel we're a suffering victim. No, it's all good. It's all good. Likewise in relationships, right? That someone has pained me. If you know that that is coming from God, or an incident that happened that is coming from God. And this is a Kodak moment. So it's all good. Now, that doesn't mean that the person who did something that's not appropriate, that they are responsible for. We're not talking about how you should deal with that person. How's your reaction to what happened to you, though? So if we keep in mind, and this is something I work on, is that this God is present here. He's the one who created this moment. He's the one who was creating this moment. So it's all but good. First accepting that, even though it may be painful, but then moving, accepting that. And then when we do have that faith and that trust, the Rebbe says, from the mind's eye of believing that this is good, it will come to the physical eye that we will see the good. The Rebbe says that that's going to happen. He says, like, as a matter of fact, it's very powerful. It's an extremely powerful thing. I've seen that in my life, and I'm sure we all have seen that. Now, just again, I want to clarify. When God came to Abraham and wanted to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, he didn't say it's all good. How come? Hey, it's Kodak moment. God wants to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. Because this was happening to others. And therefore, because it was happening to others, his responsibility was to defend the others. And therefore he says, God, Khalilullah, heaven forbid that you should do such a thing. You're going to destroy the wicked. The righteous are going to get destroyed together with them. How could that be? So we know this story, right? He didn't question God out of lack of faith. It was because of his faith. God, you're all good. My responsibility right now is to others, right? Since I have responsibility to others, care for others. So therefore he stands up for them. How could Khalilullah? But when it came to his own son, who is his own son is an extension of him, when he says, take your son, your only son, the one you love, Yitzchak, and bring him as an offering, he didn't say Khalilullah. He didn't say, how could you do that, God? He accepted, because it's happening to him. Oh, God, this is what you want? Oh, well, obviously it's a Kodak moment. I don't understand it. I don't get it. It's contrary to everything that I know of you. You don't want child sacrifice. And you know what? And my son is the one who is the progenitor of the Jewish people, so it didn't make sense. He didn't question. He accepted. Now, of course, this was only a test of God. He didn't mean that he should do that. He just worded it in such a way that he understood it in such a way. Why? That he should now transcend the human condition, and not what he sees and understands is what dictates, but God. So, but he didn't question God. Came to others because of God's goodness. He questions. He questions. In the end, he accepts. But when it comes to himself, there's a Kodak moment. He wakes up first thing in the morning, saddles his own donkey, and is eager to do God's bidding. Not because he got it and made sense to him. No, this is what God wants. This is God's Kodak moment. He's created this moment. So it's only but good. In the end, what did it turn into? To a real perceived goodness. His son is put on the altar. Becomes an oila tmima. An offering to God is so holy. Becomes even holier than he does as a result. He can't leave Israel. And he does. Yitzchak is of the forefathers is the only one who never left Israel. Why? He was sanctified on the altar. He's holy to God. And much more about that, which we won't go into now. But point being is the Alter Rebbe concludes over here that an offering, that becomes revealed, palpable to the eye, physical eye, seeing the goodness that comes out. Again, make no mistake. Do I live with this at all times? I wish. Do I know that this is the truth? Yes, absolutely, no question. And I work on myself to integrate this, and that's why, by the way, you need the journal for this. Hold on, I put my journal. It's moments like this that you need Tanya journaling. This is it. Much more, a few more months left of this journal. If you didn't get it yet, Tanya Journal, TanyaRabbi.com to journal. Because to take this message and to journal with it will be a game changer. We will see how that bar that is beyond, we are progressively getting closer to that idea of living our lives. Questions and comments and thoughts. Very powerful. Let's I'm gonna look at Facebook over here for questions. I've lost some of the feed because we did 2 days over here of teachings, and I'm only looking for question marks first. Andrew Eugenia, I'm sorry, you have to repost because I lost the feed. My apologies, but nothing I can do about that. That's the way it is. So please repost, okay? Susanna, while we are joyous to be constantly animated by God, we still have to deal with situations, especially in context of abuse or anti-Semitism, increasingly affects our people. Yeah, not a contradiction. Yep. Again, there's a difference. We're talking about how we, when it comes to family life, health, and our financial circumstance, or better yet, sustenance, putting bread on the table, and how that might be huge struggles and painful. How I personally am dealing with it, not how someone else is dealing with it. So abuse, and these things, of course, they need to be dealt with in the way they need to be dealt with. Andrew, if you or family is sick or dies, we still reject sadness because of true faith. Not sure how to reach that level. It's a mitzvah to mourn. Why is it a mitzvah to mourn? If you should be joyous all the time. A loved one passed away. Why are you mourning? So you're not sad. No. You're pained. You feel the loss. You grieve. Grieve and sadness are not the same thing. Sadness is a emptiness that you are weighted. You're weighted, and it brings you to no movement. You're sad. You can't do. You can't do. Right? So that's not good. To grieve will actually bring you to through true grieving, because you feel connected to another, you feel the loss, that will bring you actually to try to connect even more deeply with them. So it's not waiting. The grieving, the distinction between grieving and sadness, there's a difference. The grieving is a pain that will actually lead you to do more. Through pain, we grow. So it doesn't mean that there isn't the pain over here of that loss of an individual that is dear to us. But it's not sadness. Sadness will lead you to be dulled, to be pushed down and not being able to do. Grieving will lead you actually to do, because you will find new ways on how to connect to this person. And that's why when a person passes away, we do now more for them. We give charity because of them. We do things in their name. We study more. We do more. But we're not sad. Sad won't bring you to do more. To try to connect to that person even more strongly than you did before. Because of the void. At the same time, you're understanding that it's coming from God, and right, you don't apprehend, you don't, right, it's not the joy has been taken away. No.
Rabbi.
Yes, just give me a few moments, okay? Because before I lose, okay, just give me a few moments. Diana, how do we actually execute this mindset? It seems easier said than done. Yes. Katie, yes, we do want I know now that. So please, everybody can share that I know now that. Absolutely. Thank you, Katie. So the Alter Rebbe gives us that we have to live with our mind's eye more than with our physical eye, and therefore to know that God is creating this moment. So what I do often is I close my eyes and I think to myself, God is creating this moment, therefore it's good. Let me respond according to the fact that this is God's goodness. That doesn't mean sometimes, you have to respond with gevura, with power, with strength, with refrain, right? That doesn't mean that but before you're responding, how are you perceiving this? That's so, on the personal level. Okay. Eugenia, Hashem created humans with certain limitations due to the human condition, so he must have had a purpose for it. Or is it only a result of the concealment of godly light? Well, so, yeah, the human condition is our limitation. And what the Alter Rebbe is trying to give us is the power to overcome that, to know the truth, to live with that truth, and to try to, gradually grow and grow in that direction. So it is God's concealment that creates this reality. Absolutely correct. And that's what we're here, is to be tested in that manner. Am I able to rise above the human condition? I think I've answered everybody here. Let me just do I know now from Katie. I know now that the light of God within one's self doesn't come from the desires of the material flesh world, and that the material comforts, pleasures should only be used for the purpose of nullifying will to God's will. Creation comes from Ein Sof of Chachma, nothingness that transcends and is in every moment. When considering suffering, God's creation always comes from goodness, though we can't always understand it. This is the essence of faith that a person was created for, and there's no place devoid of God. Excellent, thank you. Vilma, please share.
struck by how you explain this, because I've heard this explained before, and I know how truthful this is and how hard it is, and what kind of level of awareness people have to have is pretty high, because we're tested in mundane matters by other people around us every single day.
Right.
But what I kind of learned that was new from you is that there's some type of connection and awareness of the connection that we have to God, in our personal lives. And that, people rarely explore their own emotions, because, emotions are transient, but we tend to respond based on our emotions. So it just kind of solidified to me that to transcend beyond those things, we have to feel that connection, like a genuine connection to God.
Right.
It's just so, like, when I analyze my own behavior and how I'm able to, like, not personalize things and just let it go, like, that doesn't come naturally. That comes from a lot of practice, a lot of, like, understanding of where things come from.
Right.
And when we do talk to other people, like, with our heart centered and connected to God, like, there's a difference in the way other people respond to us as well.
Yeah.
There's a truth there.
Right. Absolutely. So, absolutely. So the truth that the Alter Rebbe is, he's giving us an absolute truth. And what's the absolute truth? In other words, other people and, and where they're at and where they're coming from, and so on, is, like you say, from the heart, is, can be in emotions, can be a very flippant, and go, has ups and downs and so on. But there's an absolute truth that he's saying over here, and that absolute truth is that God is creating this moment, something from nothing that transcends logic, and it transcends. Cause and effect is logical. If I put a lot of force into this pencil, it'll go further. If I put less force in throwing it, it won't go as far. I get that. Makes sense. So if I really push somebody, if I was really, push somebody, it might push them very far and far away. If I don't push them so hard, maybe they'll still stay close. Cause and effect, right? This is transcendent of that. This is something from beyond. We call it nothing because it transcends our understanding, our apprehension. And God is creating that moment, and it's coming from God, and therefore God is only but good. And therefore we should accept that suffering, that pain, as good, because it's coming. Not only is it God's will, Victoria, you're asking, but it is actually God creating this moment. So it's it's not just God's will, and therefore this is what He wills, and like, no. It's this moment that He's willing it. It's this moment that He's doing it. He's engaged in this moment, creating this reality. That is a very That's the tool. And Liana, you were asking about how how do we, this is easier said than done, no question about it, no question. And that's why we have to constantly relearn this, and journal it, so it becomes really a part of us, this concept, because it is tough, and but it's an absolute truth. It's an absolute truth, being we're not absolute, so therefore we are going to fluctuate between, living with it and not living with it, growing into it more and more, hopefully. That's ultimately where we want to go with this. Whew. Okay, heavy duty stuff. Okay. Liba, Mashiach Now, 2020 was a question on Instagram asking, oh, what is a Kodak? People asking, what's a Kodak moment? Yeah, well, Kodak went out of business, right? Um, but a Kodak moment hasn't. Kodak moment means the perfect moment, right? That's what a Kodak moment means. You took the picture and you got the picture of the perfect moment of the perfect pose and the perfect smile, right? That's what a Kodak moment is. So imagine that's how we understand every moment in our lives is a Kodak moment. So what's going to be? You're going to be with a smile. You're going to be happy. You're going to be happy. That's what a Kodak moment is. Um, Andrea, I hear what you're writing. Um, so, so you can, yeah, there's tshuva that we have to do. There's tshuva that we have to do for things that we have done with our family, and that we need to take responsibility. And what happened, and it should pain us if we did something wrong. So we own it and we do tshuva and we try to fix as best as we can. Right, but not to indulge in unhelpful self-pity. Absolutely, Andrea. Very, very well said. Barry, it isn't difficult to accept the idea that God creates every moment in light of bad things happening in nature, pandemic. Um, Again, you know, when we're talking for ourselves, we're not talking about you should look at others and that you should be empathetic to the pain that others are going through. Yes, be empathetic to the pain that others are experiencing. Absolutely correct. That's what we need to do. We're not talking about that. So to speak about a pandemic or, a natural occurrence in nature that brings, a tsunami, of course you got to be empathetic and your heart goes out to, to the loss of life or, the challenges that people go through. Absolutely correct. We're not talking about that. I'm talking about things that are happening to me. How do I deal with that? Tim, please share with us.
Thank you, Rabbi. I just wanted to share with you and thank you for this very timely message for me right now, because I'm going through the death of my last parent, and this is all of the teachings seem to come at a perfect time, and I just wanted to share that. So. And thank you and the Alta Rabbi for sharing, this powerful lesson to us that we can, respond in in a negative way, and we can respond also in a positive way of dealing with what God is giving us.
Totally. Thank you for sharing that. May Hashem
Thank you.
May Hashem comfort you and give you the strength that you need, and only good things. When we give blessings, we're in the month of Elul before the new year, so we give blessings we should be written and sealed into the good books, and we should only have revealed goodness. Not the hidden goodness that is painful, that is difficult and challenging, and but only revealed goodness. That's what we bless each other, right? But as the Alter Rebbe said, we're going to go. We're here to be put through those difficulties. Why? Because can we transcend the human condition? Can we transcend my logic, my rationale, my five senses that I experience life with? Can I transcend it and truly believe that this is only but good? Again, I'm not lecturing to anybody over here. Take whatever you want from this. If it's too much, fine. If it's too much, I have no complaints to anybody. Just sharing It's like Tim said, that the Alter Rebbe was so kind and to share with us these true teachings of Hashem, of Torah, and I'm just, I'm just the go-between here to try to, bring it into our lives, for my life, and whoever wants to accept this, and as much as you want to accept that we should live with this, is definitely ultimately, there's no question in my mind of the truth of this, and that the more I live this, I see clearly, the more there's revealed goodness as a result. Oh, it is so clear. I'm just, I've got a Yetzer Hara, like you have a Yetzer Hara. I have an evil inclination. We all have an evil inclination that doesn't want us to believe this, and wants to say that I don't get it, and well, come on, this is too much. I'm a victim. Da 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 da. This is painful. I can't take it. Okay, fine. I have no complaints to anybody. All right, folks. A reminder: 12:45, some Rambam. And tonight, 6:30, Torah studies. You can join that on Zoom, or both Rambam and can join on Zoom. Please do join us.
Wonderful, Rabbi. Thank you.
God
Always
bless you.
timely. Thank you.
Thank you, Vilma, and thank you, everybody. Yeah, it's always timely. That's very true. All right. Everybody have a good Tavach, a good week, and please, if you didn't get the journal yet, go to TanyaRabbi.com. It's definitely a great vehicle to help to deal with this. I just put that up on Facebook. And we'll see you as we continue the journey together every day. Good Tavach. Thank you, everybody. Be well. Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody. All right, folks, please, you have over here Tanya Rabbi I just put up, and you have also the Zoom I just put up, so please make use of it. All the best.